like constantly.
Pretty much, yeah. From puberty onwards, it's kind of like a factory, a nonstop production line.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. And of course, there are a lot of things that can influence how well this process works, like hormones,
Right, right.
temperature, even lifestyle choices, all that can play a role.
So once a sperm are like made, what happens next? Like where do they go?
So they embark on a journey through various parts of the male reproductive system.
Oh,
Places like the epididymis and the vas deferens. Those are, I guess you could say, like the transport highways.
like the sperm highway.
Yeah, exactly. They help the sperm mature further and ultimately reach their destination.
Okay, so that's a lot of biology.
It is. It's a
Yeah,
complex process.
it is. It's complex, but it's also kind of like, I don't know, mind blowing
It
in a
is.
way.
Yeah.
But this all takes on a whole other dimension when we start to consider um, the theological perspective that we're going to look at today.
Right.
This is from Dr. Raja King,
Yes.
and he's approaching these scientific advancements that we were just talking about from well, from a very different angle, I guess you could say.
Yeah, he definitely has a unique perspective.
Yeah. So can you kind of like summarize what his main argument is here?
Sure. So Dr. King, he's a writer and editor for the Journal of Islamic Psychology and Islamic Philosophy.
Okay.
And he essentially argues that even babies that are conceived through artificial means, like using an artificial womb, for example, would still have souls. And those souls would still be judged by Allah.
So he's not saying that it's any different just because.
Exactly. He's saying that the method of conception doesn't
Literally.
change the fact that Allah is ultimately the creator of life.
I see. I see.
Yeah.
It's interesting how he kind of blends this scientific language, talking about sperm and eggs and artificial wombs and all that, but then he has this very, very firm religious stance.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So what's the basis for his argument? Like why does he believe this?
Well, he believes that, Allah created human sperm and eggs.
Okay.
And so any life that results from them, regardless of how conception happens, falls under Allah's judgment.
So it's almost like he's saying that even though we as humans might be able to create the technology
Mm-hmm.
to do this, Allah is still the one who's ultimately in control.
Exactly. He's saying that, we can't bypass Allah's intended process for creation.
Right, right.
And this really highlights, I think, a core tension between faith and scientific progress.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
It raises these questions about, where does the soul come from?
Right.
And what are the potential consequences of human intervention in these natural processes?
And it's interesting because he even goes so far as to say that scientists who are involved in developing this kind of technology, like artificial womb technology,
Mm-hmm.
would be punished by Allah.
Right. He believes that they would be punished for interfering with Allah's plan.
It's a pretty, it's a pretty strong statement.
It is. It's a very absolute stance.
Yeah, it's very absolute. And it definitely, when you think about it, it does raise all these questions about the future, right?
Yeah.
Like imagine a world where artificial wombs are commonplace.
Right.
Like what would that even mean for our understanding of parenthood?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Of family, of the very beginning of life.
Right. And how would this technology change our understanding of the soul itself?
Right.
Would we view it differently if conception happens outside of the traditional biological process?
Yeah, it's almost like it forces us to confront, all these different things like science, ethics, faith,
It really does.
all at the same time.
It brings them all together in a way that, I think we're only just beginning to grapple with.
Yeah, and as technology keeps advancing,
Mm-hmm.
these conversations are only going to get, they're going to get more complex.
Oh, absolutely.
More crucial.
Yeah, this deep dive, this is really just the tip of the iceberg, I think.
Yeah.
It raises so many more questions than it answers.
It does. It really does.
But that's a good thing, I think.
Yeah.
It challenges us to, really consider the implications of these scientific advancements and how they intersect with our own personal beliefs
Value? Right.
and values.
It's a lot to think about.
It is.
It really is. But I think it's important to think about these things.
It is.
So, yeah, I think that's a good place to leave it for today.
Yeah.
But I think this is something that we'll definitely be revisiting.
I think so. Yeah, this is a conversation that's not going away anytime soon.
Right. It's just going to keep getting more and more relevant.
Exactly.
So, yeah, to everyone listening, thank you for joining us on